Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. In the previous videos, we discussed several steps involved in rDNA technology. So we are coming to the last stage of rDNA technology, that is obtaining foreign gene product and downstream processing. So once the recombinant DNA that we produce establishes inside a host cell, it will start expressing. That means expression of a gene means producing proteins. Here proteins are produced on a heterologous host. It's not the actual host. On a different body it is expressing. So if a protein is expressed on a heterologous host, it is called a recombinant protein. So we are producing recombinant protein using rDNA technology. So this protein we need for different purpose. If it is for a research purpose in the lab, we can culture them in small quantities, like a small vessels we can culture them. But if we want to produce on a larger scale commercially, then we have to go for huge culture system. For that we use huge tanks called bioreactors. Bioreactors otherwise called fermenters. These are huge tanks, almost 100 to 1000 liters volume, in which we can culture the cells. So when we are doing it industrially, or industrial production includes 3 steps. First, laboratory scale. Before we start producing it on a large scale, in the laboratory we have to make it on small scale and verify that it is the correct product that we are obtaining. Then after that, pilot plant scale. Any researcher before releasing a product would go for a pilot study. Pilot study means more than the laboratory condition, but not on a larger scale. So that scale also, if it is feasible or it is proven to be successful, then we can go for manufacturing unit, which is the commercial manufacturing on a large scale. So the developmental stage of from laboratory scale up to manufacturing unit is called a scaling up process. So for this I told we are using bioreactors. So when we are using bioreactors, there are 2 methods adopted. One is called a continuous culture system. As the word indicates, it's a continuous process. Second is a batch culture system, batch by batch. So what is batch culture system? Suppose I am taking the culture medium. So the culture medium should include the nutrients required for the microbe. Our host cell is a microbe, right? The nutrient, then salts, vitamins, hormones, everything should be added to it. And some inoculum also we should add. Inoculum means the starter or the our recombinant DNA containing transformant cells or the host cells should be given to the bioreactor. So we will run the system till we get maximum product out of it. Once we receive all the product, then the stage is over. We empty the vessel, clean it, wash it. After that, we load it with another fresh culture and inoculum. Okay? So that is called a batch. So batch by batch we are doing, that is batch culture system. Whereas in continuous culture system, what we do, from one end continuously we are draining out the product along with the cultured cell and the product, everything should be drained out. Even culture medium, everything will be drained out, used culture medium. From another side we are giving the culture medium and inoculum. So it is continuously running. So from one side we are loading the fresh sample, from other side we are getting the product. So it is continuously running and we are keeping all the cells or the cultured cells in the highly physiologically active stage or called a log phase. So we get maximum yield and output when we are doing continuous culture. There are 2 types of bioreactors used. That is, one is simple stirred tank bioreactor and sparged stirred tank bioreactor. In the simple stirred tank bioreactor, it is a reactor with a curved base for even mixing, and there is a stirrer in the middle which will agitate the mixture so that aeration is proper. So the culture medium, the inoculum and oxygen will mix well. Whereas in the second stage or the second type of bioreactors, here there is no shaft or a rotating system, but instead we are sparging oxygen bubbles into the bioreactor. That is called a sparged stirred tank bioreactor. What we are seeing in this picture is a stirred tank bioreactor. Okay, so usually these bioreactors have a curved bottom. Because if it is flat bottom, the sedimentation can happen, even mixing will not happen. But if it is curved, more space for mixing of the mixture. And an oxygen system should be there for adding oxygen to this, and there is a shaft in the center for agitating or rotating. So since these blades are rotating, fat bladed impeller, the shaft is called an impeller which rotates in order to agitate the mixture well so that oxygen mixing will happen. These microbes are all aerobic, they need oxygen to multiply. Whereas in the sparged tank bioreactor, this part is not there. Instead, we are sparging oxygen into it. Then whenever we are agitating something, you take a glass of water and mix it well without anything. Even then some foam will produce in that, right? So here also that will form. So foam breaker is there on top and there is some gap for the foam to accumulate and it will be broken from time to time. Then the system will be working at an optimum pH and temperature. So pH control port is there so that we can check the acid alkali ratio and we can find it out. Then steam for sterilization. The complete system should be sterilized. So steam sterilization is also done. And we have the culture broth. Culture broth contains the culture medium, the inoculum, everything. Okay, so these are the parts and here is a motor. The rotation of the motor will be rotating the shaft and as a result agitation will be continuously happening. This is the most common type of bioreactor used. Whereas the simple sparged tank bioreactor, no shaft is there but oxygen is sparged into the system. But now recently there are many sophisticated types of bioreactors being developed because the when we are agitating it, it can damage the culture cells or the host cells, or even when we are aerating it, sparging oxygen, the velocity, sheer velocity of the oxygen bubbles can also affect the whole system. So now many thermodynamics principles have been taken care of and the velocity is also controlled and many sophisticated methods are adopted when we are using bioreactors on a commercial scale. The final stage of rDNA technology is downstream processing. So once the biosynthetic stage is over, that is protein production is over, we take out the content, then some culture cells will be kept as inoculum to use further and the rest will be crushed and then it will be chemically treated to separate the product out. So once we get the product, the next step is to purify them. So the and we add enough preservatives to it. So the stages including separation and purification of the product is called a downstream processing. So once we get the purified product, then we have to conduct clinical trials to find out its use and also its side effects if any. Long-term as well as short-term side effects should be studied properly. And if that test is also over, then strict quality control test will be done for each batch of product that we are obtaining so that we know that they are safe to use further. With this, the rDNA technology is complete and all the concepts of biotechnology principles and processes chapter is over. Hope I could help you understand the concepts in a better way and you learned the chapter very well. And if you find my videos useful, please share, like and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion.